There's a specific kind of silence that comes right before your entire world shatters. Thick, suffocating, the kind where even your heartbeat sounds like a betrayal. Maddie knew that silence. She was standing in front of 2,000 wolves, dressed in ceremonial white, waiting for the man she'd loved since childhood to claim her as his mate. The Winter Solstice stadium glittered with ice and expectation. 5 neighboring packs had traveled to witness what the Oracle called the union that would define an era. Instead, Caleb, billionaire heir, perfect alpha, the boy who'd once promised her forever, reached into his pocket and pulled out a handful of silver coins. The sound they made hitting marble was obscene. "You are a relic of a weak past, Maddie. I need a Luna who breeds warriors, not a fragile doll." Here's what they don't tell you about rejection. It doesn't just break your heart. For an Omega, it tears your soul apart from the inside. Maddie felt it immediately, the bond snapping, her wolf screaming, blood trickling warm from her nose as her body began the process of dying. She had maybe 6 hours left to live, but then the stadium doors exploded off their hinges. Smoke poured in, carrying a scent that made every alpha in the room freeze in primal terror. And through that, smoke walked a nightmare, the rogue Alpha King himself, scarred and massive and absolutely lethal. He didn't attack. He knelt before Maddie's dying body and said 5 words that changed everything. "Now you belong to me. What happens next will leave you speechless. Keep watching." Hi, my fierce werewolf community. Welcome back to the channel. I hope you're having an amazing day wherever you're watching from. Before we dive into this absolutely explosive story, do me a quick favor and hit that subscribe button, because trust me, you're not going to want to miss what happens when the rogue Alpha King crashes this rejection ceremony. And drop a comment telling me, have you ever had someone reject you only to realize they made the biggest mistake of their life? Because that's exactly what's about to happen here, and the revenge is chef's kiss. Now, let's get into it. The silver coins hit the marble floor with a sound that shattered Maddie's world. Each metallic clink echoed through the Winter Solstice stadium like a death knell, reverberating off the vaulted ceilings where 5 neighboring packs watched in absolute silence. Maddie's knees buckled, but she refused to fall. Not here, not in front of 2,000 witnesses who had gathered to celebrate what should have been her mating ceremony. Instead, they were watching her execution. "You are a relic of a weak past, Maddie." Caleb's voice cut through the frozen air, each word precisely calculated to inflict maximum damage. The billionaire alpha heir stood on the raised dais in a custom Italian suit that probably cost more than her family's entire estate, his amber eyes cold and dismissive. "I need a Luna who breeds warriors, not a fragile doll who faints at the sight of blood." Maddie's wolf whimpered inside her chest, a sound only she could hear as the bond she'd cherished since childhood began to tear apart. The pain was exquisite, like someone had reached into her ribcage and slowly started pulling her soul out through her sternum, her vision blurred, red creeping in at the edges. This was how Omegas died. Rejection didn't just break hearts, it shattered the very essence that held their wolves intact. "Caleb, please." The words escaped before she could stop them, and she hated herself for the pleading tone. 22 years of conditioning, of being told that an Omega's greatest honor was to serve their alpha, couldn't be erased in a single moment of betrayal. "Don't!" His hand shot up, stopping her words like swatting a fly. "Don't make this harder than it needs to be. You've served your purpose as Silvercrest's symbol of purity. But symbols don't run corporations, Maddie. They don't negotiate treaties or lead armies. They sit in museums gathering dust." Behind him, a woman stepped forward, tall, powerful, with the sharp features of a high-ranking beta and eyes that gleamed with triumph. Jenna Cross, daughter of the Eastern Territory's wealthiest arms dealer. She placed a possessive hand on Caleb's shoulder, and Maddie watched as he leaned into the touch without hesitation. "The Silver Crest Pack officially recognizes Jenna Cross as my chosen Luna," Caleb announced, his voice carrying across the stadium with alpha command. The Oracle's prophecy about the unmarked miracle was nothing but superstitious nonsense. "We move forward with strength, not sentiment." The crowd erupted. some in shocked gasps, others in polite applause that felt like acid on Maddie's skin. Her uncle Marcus, no, wait, her uncle Henry stood in the front row, his face carefully neutral, but she caught the flash of something in his eyes. Not sympathy, something darker, something that looked almost like satisfaction. The rejection bond completed with a violent snap that dropped Maddie to her knees. Blood trickled from her nose, warm and copper tasting. Her wolf was screaming now, a sound that would drive her mad before it killed her. 24 hours. That's how long most rejected Omegas lasted before their hearts simply stopped beating. She had loved him since she was 12 years old, had watched him grow from a cocky teenager into the ruthless businessman who now looked at her like she was a balance sheet that didn't add up. "Security will escort you out," Caleb said, already turning away. "You have until dawn to clear your belongings from packed territory. After that, you're rogue." Rogue? The word was a death sentence. Omegas couldn't survive without pack bonds. The isolation alone would finish what the rejection had started. Maddie's hands found the cold marble beneath her, fingers splaying against stone that had been polished by generations of her ancestors. The Silver Crest pack had stood for 300 years, built on the backs of families like hers. The purebloods, the ones who maintained the old traditions, while people like Caleb modernized everything into cold, corporate efficiency. "Get up," Jenna's voice dripped with false sympathy. "You're embarrassing yourself." Maddie's wolf surged with sudden, unexpected rage. For just a moment, something shifted inside her, something that felt nothing like the docile, obedient Omega she'd been raised to be. It felt like fire and lightning and the promise of violence. But before she could process it, the pain returned tenfold, driving the strange sensation away. She was dying, and the man she'd loved was already discussing quarterly projections with his new Luna. The stadium doors exploded inward, not opened, not unlocked, exploded. The reinforced steel, designed to withstand a direct assault from a rogue pack, flew off its hinges like toys, crashing into the far wall with a sound that shook the entire structure. Smoke poured through the opening, thick and choking, carrying a scent that made every wolf in the stadium freeze in primal terror. Ancient cedar, blood, wildfire. And underneath it all, something that smelled like power so raw and untamed that it made Maddie's dying wolf lift its head in recognition. A figure walked through the smoke. He was massive, not just tall, but built like violence incarnate, with shoulders that seemed to fill the doorway and a presence that sucked all the oxygen from the room. Scars covered every visible inch of skin, silver lines that spoke of battles fought and survived. His eyes glowed red in the dim light, the mark of an alpha who had killed enough to lose his humanity. The rogue Alpha King. Maddie had heard the stories. Every pack member had. Zane, the monster who ruled the northern borders, who had torn through 3 military battalions and left nothing but corpses and nightmares. The Alpha who rejected civilization itself and built an empire of outcasts and killers. He shouldn't be here. Rogue Alphas didn't enter pack territory. It violated every treaty, every law, every rule that kept the fragile peace between civilization and chaos. But he walked forward anyway, his boots heavy against marble, and every alpha in the stadium took an involuntary step backward. Every alpha except Caleb. "You're trespassing," Caleb's voice held command, but Maddie heard the slight tremor underneath. "This is a private ceremony." Zane didn't even look at him. His red eyes were fixed on Maddie, on her crumpled form and the blood dripping from her nose. He crossed the distance between them in seconds, and then he knelt. The rogue Alpha King, terror of the Northern Territories, knelt before a dying Omega. His hand reached out, stopping just short of touching her face. 10 years. His voice was gravel and midnight, vibrating through the floor and into Maddie's bones. "I've waited 10 years for the world to throw you away." "What?" Maddie tried to form words. But her wolf was reacting to his proximity in ways that made no sense. The pain was receding, replaced by something that felt like recognition, like coming home. Because now, Zane's eyes met hers, and she saw something in their red depths that terrified and mesmerized her in equal measure. "You belong to the king of the monsters." He bit into his own wrist, blood welling dark and potent, and pressed it to her lips. Drink. Maddie's dying wolf didn't give her a choice. She drank, and liquid fire poured down her throat, burning away the rejection bond like it had never existed. Power flooded her system, not the gentle, nurturing energy of an omega bond, but something fierce and wild and utterly intoxicating. Zane's hand moved to her neck, claws extending, and before anyone could react, he marked her. The claiming bite was supposed to be gentle, a sacred ritual performed in private. This was possession, public and undeniable, his fangs sinking into the junction of her neck and shoulder with enough force to make her cry out. But instead of pain, there was only pleasure so intense it bordered on agony. Golden light exploded from the mark, a color that shouldn't exist in any natural bond. It spread across her skin like wildfire, illuminating patterns that looked like ancient runes. "No!" Caleb's roar shattered the stunned silence. "That's not possible. Omegas can't form secondary bonds." Zane pulled back, blood on his lips, his eyes never leaving Maddie's face. "She was never yours to reject." He stood, pulling her up with him, holding her against his chest like she weighed nothing. "And she was never just an Omega." The golden light was spreading now, filling the entire stadium, and Maddie felt her wolf rising. Not the timid, frightened creature she'd known all her life, but something else entirely. Something that had been sleeping, waiting, suppressed by forces she didn't understand. "This is an act of war." Caleb's face had gone purple with rage. "You can't just walk into my territory and steal." "Your territory?" Zane's laugh was dark and dangerous. "You rejected her. That makes her rogue, and rogues belong to me." He turned, carrying Maddie toward the shattered doors. "But thank you, Silvercrest Alpha. You've just given me the one weapon I needed to burn your entire world to ash." The last thing Maddie saw before the smoke swallowed them was Caleb's face, frozen in an expression somewhere between fury and dawning horror, as if he'd just realized he hadn't rejected a weak Omega. He'd rejected something far more dangerous. And now it belonged to his worst nightmare. If you've ever been underestimated by someone who should have seen your worth, drop a comment and tell me about it. Because Maddie's about to show the world what happens when you reject the wrong person. And hey, if you want to see Caleb's face when he realizes the catastrophic mistake he just made, hit that subscribe button. Trust me, the fallout is going to be legendary. Maddie woke to the smell of pine and leather. Her body wrapped in furs so soft they felt like clouds against her skin. For a moment, she thought she was dreaming, that the rejection, the golden mark, the rogue Alpha King, all of it was just a nightmare born from pre-ceremony anxiety. Then she felt the mark on her neck pulse with heat, and reality crashed down like an avalanche. She bolted upright, her heart hammering. The room around her was nothing like she'd expected. Instead of a dungeon or a cage, she found herself in a massive cabin with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking a forest that stretched endlessly under a star-filled sky. The furniture was handcrafted, beautiful in its simplicity. Bookshelves lined one wall, packed with volumes that ranged from ancient texts to modern philosophy. This wasn't a monster's lair. This was a home. "You're awake." Zane's voice came from the shadows near the door, making her jump. He stepped into the moonlight, and Maddie's breath caught. Without the smoke and chaos, she could see him clearly now, the sharp angles of his face, the silver scars that mapped a history of violence across his skin, and those eyes. Red, yes, but not with madness. With something far more dangerous. Intelligence. "Where am I?" Her voice came out stronger than she felt. "The Rogue Barons, my territory." He moved closer, each step measured and deliberate. "You're safe here." "Safe?" Maddie laughed, the sound bitter. "You kidnapped me. You marked me without permission. You saved your life." His interruption was quiet but firm. "The rejection bond was killing you. You had maybe 6 hours left before your heart stopped." She wanted to argue, but her wolf stirred inside her, stronger now than it had ever been. The golden mark on her neck hummed with an energy that felt nothing like the stories she'd been told about mate bonds. This wasn't submission. This was power. Why? The question burst out. Why would the rogue Alpha King care if some rejected Omega dies? Something flickered across Zane's scarred face. Pain, maybe, or memory. Because I know what it's like to be thrown away by people who should have protected you." He sat on the edge of the bed, maintaining careful distance. "And because you're not just some Omega, Maddie, you never were." What's that supposed to mean? It means that Caleb is an idiot who just rejected the one person who could have legitimized his entire claim to power. Zane's smile was sharp. The unmarked miracle wasn't about purity or breeding potential. It was about what you are underneath the lies your family has been feeding you since birth. Maddie's mind raced. "My family wouldn't—" "Your Uncle Henry has been suppressing your true nature for 22 years. Zane leaned forward, his red eyes intense. "Tell me, Maddie, have you ever wondered why you never went into heat? Why other Omegas could smell their mates from miles away, but you felt nothing until Caleb's rejection nearly killed you?" She had wondered. Late at night, when she was alone, she'd questioned why her wolf always felt muted, distant, like it was wrapped in cotton. "Because you're not an Omega." Zane's words hung in the air like a bomb. "You're an Alpha Prime, the rarest bloodline in existence. And your uncle buried that truth to protect his own position in the pack hierarchy." Maddie's world tilted. "That's impossible. Is it?" Zane gestured to the golden mark on her neck. "Omegas can't form bonds with rogue alphas. The power differential would kill them instantly. But you're not dying, are you? You're stronger than you've ever been." She touched the mark, feeling its warmth, its strength. Her wolf was practically purring, basking in an energy she'd never experienced. "I've been watching you for 10 years, Maddie." Zane's confession was raw, waiting for the moment when the pack system would do what it always does, reject anyone who threatens its comfortable lies. "I knew Caleb would eventually show his true colors. Men like him always do." "So, this was planned?" Anger flared hot in her chest. "I'm just a pawn in whatever revenge scheme you're running." "You were supposed to be." His honesty startled her. "But then I scented you up close, felt the echo of your true nature, and everything changed." He stood, towering over her, but somehow not threatening. "You have a choice, Maddie. Stay here, learn what you really are, and decide your own future. Or I'll escort you to neutral territory, and you can try to survive as a rogue." "Some choice," she muttered. "It's more than Caleb gave you." Zane moved toward the door, then paused. "There's someone who wants to meet you. Someone who knew your mother before she died. She has answers about what you are and why your family buried the truth." The woman waiting in Zane's study looked like she'd been carved from stone in time itself. Her silver hair fell in a thick braid over one shoulder, and her eyes, pale blue and ancient, fixed on Maddie the moment she entered. "She has her mother's face," the woman said softly, rising from her chair with surprising grace. But Lydia's eyes were softer, less fire. "Who are you?" Maddie asked, hyper-aware of Zane's presence behind her, a solid wall of protection she didn't want to need. "My name is Elena. I was your mother's closest friend before the Silvercrest Pack decided she was too dangerous to live." The words hit like physical blows. "Your mother didn't die in childbirth, child. She was murdered." The room spun. Maddie gripped the back of a chair, her knees threatening to buckle. "No. My uncle said your Uncle Henry orchestrated her death." Elena's voice was matter-of-fact, clinical, as if discussing the weather rather than murder. "Because your mother was an Alpha Prime, and when she gave birth to you, she passed that gift down. Henry knew that once you came of age, you would outrank him. So he made a deal." "What kind of deal?" Maddie's voice barely whispered past the rage building in her chest. "He suppressed your scent with a blood curse, making you appear as a weak Omega. In exchange, he retained his position as Silvercrest's second, and Caleb's father agreed to eventually mate you to his son, believing a pure Omega would stabilize Caleb's more volatile tendencies." Elena moved closer, her ancient eyes searching Maddie's face. "But there was something Henry didn't account for." "What?" "That Caleb would reject you." Zane's voice cut through the tension. "The rejection broke the curse. That's why my mark took. That's why you're not dying." Maddie's hand flew to her neck, to the golden mark that pulsed with warmth. "So, everything, my entire life, was a lie?" "Not everything." Elena pulled a small wooden box from her pocket, its surface covered in carved runes. Your mother knew Henry would try something. Before she died, she made me promise to give you this when the truth finally surfaced. She opened the box, revealing a silver pendant shaped like a crescent moon. This was the Alpha Prime sigil of your bloodline. It's been passed down for 6 generations. Maddie reached for it with trembling fingers. The moment she touched the pendant, power surged through her, raw, untamed, magnificent. Her wolf howled in recognition, finally free after 22 years of suppression. The windows exploded outward. Golden light erupted from Maddie's body, so bright that Zane had to shield his eyes. She felt her bones shifting, her senses expanding, her very DNA rewriting itself as the blood curse shattered completely. This wasn't a normal shift. This was awakening. When the light faded, Maddie stood taller, stronger, her eyes no longer the soft brown of an Omega, but blazing gold, the mark of an Alpha Prime. Impossible, she breathed, staring at her hands where claws had extended without her conscious command. Very possible, Elena said with a satisfied smile. And very bad news for Henry and Caleb. A howl pierced the night, a warning call from the perimeter guards. Zane was at the window in an instant, his body tense. We have company, multiple packs, military formation. He turned to Maddie, his red eyes serious. Caleb's coming for you. He must have felt the curse break. Let him come. Maddie's voice came out layered with alpha command, startling even herself. I have questions for my dear uncle. You're not ready to face them, Zane said, but there was approval in his tone. You've been awake as an Alpha Prime for 30 seconds. They'll have warriors who've trained their entire lives. Then teach me. Maddie met his gaze without flinching. You said I had a choice. I'm making it. I'm not running anymore. Zane's smile was predatory and proud. Now you sound like a queen. Another howl, closer this time. Elena moved to the window, her face grim. They brought hunters, silver weapons. They're not here to negotiate. Good. Maddie felt something dark and dangerous unfurl in her chest. Neither am I. The rogue barons transformed before Maddie's eyes. What she'd assumed was wilderness revealed itself as a carefully constructed stronghold. Wolves emerged from the forest, dozens, then hundreds, forming defensive lines with military precision. These weren't mindless rogues, they were soldiers. Welcome to the real North, Zane said, leading her onto a wooden platform that overlooked the compound. Every wolf you see was rejected by the pack system, too wild, too broken, too honest about what we really are. Maddie watched a female wolf with a scarred face direct troops with hand signals. A massive male coordinated supply lines. Children, actual children, trained in a protected courtyard under watchful eyes. You built a society, she whispered. I built a family. Zane's correction was soft. For everyone the civilized packs threw away. A scout approached, breathing hard. Alpha, they've stopped at the border. Caleb's requesting parley under truce laws. Zane's laugh was dark. Of course he is. He can't risk open war without council approval. He glanced at Maddie. He wants to talk to you. Absolutely not, Elena interjected, appearing beside them. It's a trap. Everything's a trap? Maddie surprised herself with her certainty. But I need to hear what lies he'll tell. What excuse he'll use for murdering my mother and caging me for 22 years. Zane studied her face, then nodded. I'll be with you. One wrong move from him, and truce laws be damned. The border was marked by ancient standing stones, neutral ground where even enemies could meet safely. Caleb waited there in tactical gear, flanked by 20 warriors. His amber eyes widened when he saw Maddie, really saw her, with golden eyes and power radiating from her skin. Maddie, thank God. His relief sounded genuine. We need to get you back to Silvercrest immediately. That monster has clearly done something to you. Stop. Her voice cracked like a whip, layered with alpha command. Caleb actually flinched. You rejected me, called me a relic, a fragile doll, remember? I was wrong. He stepped forward, hands raised. I didn't understand what you were. Your Uncle Henry just confessed everything. He's been arrested for treason and murder. The curse he placed on you? Convenient timing, Zane growled. Your crimes exposed right after you need her back. Caleb's eyes flashed with anger. This isn't about politics. Maddie, the pack is falling apart. Crops are failing. Business deals are collapsing. Our wolves are getting sick. His voice dropped desperately. We need you. I need you. Maddie felt it then. A pull, ancient and undeniable. Her bloodline was connected to Silvercrest's land itself. The Alpha Prime wasn't just a ruler. She was the heartbeat of the territory. You're the anchor, Elena had explained earlier. Your presence stabilizes the pack's connection to the land. Without you, Silvercrest will slowly die. Come home, Caleb pleaded. I'll make Henry pay for what he did. We'll have a proper mating ceremony. You'll be Luna, truly this time. Everything you deserve. Everything I deserve? Maddie's laugh was bitter. You threw coins at my feet like I was a prostitute. You let me start dying in front of 2,000 witnesses. And now you want me back because your stocks are dropping? It's not like that. Then what is it like, Caleb? She moved closer, and he actually stepped back from the power rolling off her in waves. Tell me the truth for once in your miserable life. His jaw clenched. Fine. Yes, we need your bloodline to survive. But that doesn't mean I don't... He stopped, struggling. I made a mistake. I let my father's ambitions blind me to what really mattered. Me or your pack's prosperity. Caleb's silence was answer enough. Here's what's going to happen. Maddie's voice turned cold. You're going to return to Silvercrest and watch it crumble. Every failed harvest, every broken alliance. Every wolf who gets sick, that's the price of your rejection. You'd kill innocent pack members out of spite. I'd let natural consequences play out. She smiled without warmth. You wanted to move forward with strength, not sentiment. So move forward, Alpha, without me. She turned to leave, but Caleb's next words froze her in place. He's using you, Maddie. Zane isn't some noble savior. He's my brother. Band. The world stopped spinning. Maddie turned slowly, her golden eyes moving between Caleb and Zane, searching for the lie. But Zane's face had gone carefully blank, the expression of a man whose secret had just been weaponized. Brother? The word tasted like ash on her tongue. Half-brother, Zane corrected, his voice dangerously calm. Same father, different mothers, different fates. Caleb's smile was cruel. Father sent Zane away when he was 12, sold him to the northern border packs as a training exchange. Except, it wasn't an exchange. It was an execution order. Why? Maddie demanded, even as pieces started clicking into place with sickening clarity. Because I was weak. Zane's words were flat, emotionless. I refused to kill during my first hunt. Cried over a dying deer. Father said I'd contaminate Caleb with softness, so he paid the border alphas to toughen me up. His laugh was hollow. They did. 3 years of torture will do that to a kid. Maddie's heart cracked. The scars covering his body suddenly told a story she couldn't unhear. He escaped at 15, Caleb continued, clearly enjoying twisting the knife. Started killing the alphas who'd tortured him, then their packs, then anyone who got in his way. He became the monster Father tried to create, and now he's back for revenge. And you're the weapon he chose. Caleb's amber eyes locked on Maddie. Think about it. He's been watching you for 10 years? That's not protection, that's surveillance. He waited for me to reject you so he could claim you, the one bloodline that can strip an alpha of their power. He's not your savior, Maddie. He's using you to destroy our father and take everything we've built. Maddie looked at Zane, needing him to deny it. Is it true? Yes. His honesty was a betrayal all its own. I came to that ceremony to claim you as revenge, to use your Alpha Prime abilities to dismantle everything the Silvercrest Alphas have built on blood and corruption. The golden mark on her neck burned, and she didn't know if it was from anger or heartbreak. Okay, real talk. Do you think Zane truly loves Maddie, or has this been manipulation from the start? I need to know what you're thinking, because this moment right here changes everything. If you're as emotionally invested in this as I am, subscribe so we can keep unraveling these impossible choices together. Now, let's see what Maddie does with a power that could destroy them both. But, Zane started. But nothing. Maddie's voice shook. You're just like Caleb, just like my uncle. Everyone wants to use me for something. My bloodline, my power, my connection to the land. Nobody actually wants me." "That's not true," Zane growled, moving toward her. "Don't." She raised her hand, and power exploded outward, a shockwave that sent both alphas stumbling backward. The standing stones cracked. The ground trembled. "Don't come near me." This was what Elena had warned her about. Alpha Prime abilities weren't just about leadership or strength. They could nullify other Alpha's powers entirely, rendering them human. She could feel it now, that terrible potential thrumming under her skin. "Maddie, please listen." Zane's red eyes were desperate now, all masks dropped. "Why should I?" Tears burned her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. "Give me one reason why I shouldn't strip both of you of your powers right now and walk away from this entire nightmare." "Because I love you!" The words exploded from Zane like they'd been torn from his chest. "Yes, I plan to use you. Yes, I watched you for years, waiting for the perfect moment. But somewhere between surveillance and salvation, I fell in love with a woman who smiled at flowers even when the whole world told her she was worthless. I fell for the girl who fed stray cats behind the Silvercrest kitchens and read poetry to dying pack elders. I fell for you, Maddie, not your power. You." Caleb scoffed. "How touching." The monster learned to lie convincingly. "Shut up," Maddie and Zane said simultaneously. She wanted to believe him. God, she wanted to believe him so badly it physically hurt. But trust was a luxury she could no longer afford. "Prove it," she whispered. "How?" "Let me into your memories. Full access, no barriers." It was an Alpha Prime ability Elena had mentioned, the power to walk through another wolf's mind and see their truth. "If you really love me, you'll show me everything. The good, the bad, and all the ugly parts you've been hiding." Zane didn't hesitate. "Do it." Maddie's hand touched Zane's temple, and the world dissolved into memory. She stood in a cold stone cell, watching a 12-year-old boy with red-rimmed eyes huddle in the corner. Young Zane, before the scars, before the monster. A guard threw raw meat at his feet. "Eat it, weakling. Alphas don't cook their food." The boy retched, but forced himself to comply. Maddie felt his shame, his terror, his desperate hope that his father would come rescue him. But days turned to weeks, turned to months, and no rescue ever came. The memories blurred faster. Beatings, burns, forced fights where he had to kill or be killed. She felt every moment his humanity cracked a little more, felt the exact instant his heart turned to stone. Then, a different memory. 15-year-old Zane escaped and hiding in the forest, stumbling upon Silvercrest territory during a festival. He'd been starving, planning to steal food when he saw her. 12-year-old Maddie, laughing as she danced with other children, her brown eyes bright with joy despite the Omega chains already being forged around her soul. She'd tripped, fallen, scraped her knee, and while others laughed, young Zane had watched her stand back up, wipe her tears, and keep dancing. "That's when I knew," Zane's voice echoed through the memory. "That's when I knew there was still something worth fighting for in this world." The memories continued, him watching from the shadows over the years, seeing her kindness slowly crushed by pack expectations, seeing her light dim as her uncle's curse took hold, planning his revenge, yes, but always with her freedom as part of the equation, until the rejection ceremony. She felt his rage when Caleb threw those coins, felt how his careful plans had shattered the moment he scented her true nature, and realized she was dying. "I couldn't let you die," his memory voice whispered. "Revenge meant nothing if you weren't alive to be free." Maddie pulled back, gasping. The truth was overwhelming. He'd been a monster and a guardian, a villain and a victim, and somewhere in the complexity, he'd fallen in love with her. But, before she could speak, chaos erupted. Caleb's warriors attacked, silver bullets ripping through the air. The parley was a trap, after all. He'd just been stalling until his reinforcements arrived. "No!" Zane threw himself in front of Maddie, taking 3 silver bullets to the chest. He collapsed, blood blooming across his shirt. Silver was poison to werewolves, especially to an alpha. "Zane!" Maddie dropped beside him, her hands pressing against the wounds. Golden light poured from her palms instinctively, trying to heal him, but Silver blocked her power. "Take her!" Caleb commanded his warriors. "The Rogue King is finished. Maddie comes back to Silver Crest where she belongs." Hands grabbed Maddie, dragging her away from Zane's dying body. She screamed, fought, but she was still new to her power, still learning. They had numbers and experience. Elena appeared from nowhere, her ancient power blazing, but even she couldn't fight off 20 elite warriors alone. "Let me go!" Maddie's power exploded outward, but Caleb had prepared, silver chains wrapped around her wrists, dampening her abilities just enough. "You'll thank me eventually," Caleb said, signaling his warriors to retreat. "Once you're home, once you remember where you really belong, you'll understand I did this for us." "I'll kill you!" Maddie snarled, her golden eyes blazing with fury and heartbreak. "I'll kill you for this." "No, you won't. You're too good." He touched her face, and she bit him, drawing blood. He jerked back, anger flashing. "Restrain her completely." More silver chains, more dampening magic. Maddie watched helplessly as they carried her away from Zane's body, from Elena's desperate attempts to save him, from the only place she'd felt truly seen. The rogue barons disappeared behind them, and with it, any hope of freedom. Caleb had won. The Silver Crest holding cell was exactly as Maddie remembered: cold marble, silver-reinforced bars, and the suffocating scent of old money and older lies. They'd stripped her of the furs Zane had given her, replaced them with a white ceremonial gown that felt like a burial shroud. "The mating ceremony is in 3 hours, Caleb announced, standing outside her cell like a prince surveying his prize. "We'll redo it properly this time. You'll accept me publicly, restore the land's connection, and we'll move forward as equals." "Equals?" Maddie laughed bitterly, rattling the silver chains on her wrists. "Is that what you call kidnapping and murdering the man I love?" Something flickered across Caleb's face. Guilt, maybe, or just annoyance at her continued defiance. "Zane isn't dead, unfortunately, but he will be if you don't cooperate. I have snipers positioned at the Rogue Baron's border. One word from me, and they finish what we started." The threat landed like a knife between her ribs. "You're a coward." "I'm pragmatic." He moved closer, his amber eyes intense. "Maddie, why can't you see this is for the best? The Rogue King filled your head with revenge fantasies, but reality is more complicated. Silver Crest provides jobs for thousands. Our medical research has saved countless lives. Our treaties maintain peace across 5 territories. If the pack falls, hundreds of innocent wolves suffer. And whose fault is that?" Maddie met his gaze without flinching. "You built an empire on my stolen power, on my mother's murder, on my uncle's betrayal. None of that is my responsibility to fix." "Then whose is it?" Caleb's voice rose. "You'd let children starve because their alpha made mistakes?" "I'd let consequences teach what kindness couldn't." The words hung in the air between them, a philosophical divide that no amount of forced proximity could bridge. Caleb's jaw clenched. 3 hours, Maddie. Think carefully about your choices." He turned to leave, then paused. "Your Uncle Henry wants to see you. Apparently he has a confession that changes everything. I'll allow it, since you have nothing but time." He left, and moments later, guards dragged in a man Maddie barely recognized. Henry had aged decades and days, his face gaunt and his eyes haunted. "Maddie," he rasped, "I'm so sorry." "Save it." She refused to look at him. "You murdered my mother, cursed me, sold me like property. What could you possibly say that matters now? The truth about your father." That got her attention. "Your mother's mate wasn't a Silver Crest wolf. He was an Alpha Prime from the old bloodlines, the ones that existed before the modern pack system." Henry's words tumbled out desperately. "When she got pregnant with you, the Council ordered her death. They said Alpha Primes were too dangerous, too powerful to be allowed to breed." Maddie's blood ran cold. "What does this have to do with anything?" "Your father is still alive." Henry gripped the bars between them. "And he's been searching for you for 22 years. His name is Zane." The world stopped. "No." Maddie shook her head violently. "That's impossible. Zane is Caleb's half-brother. He's not. That's what everyone believes. But I altered the records." Henry's confession spilled out like poison. Zane's mother wasn't some random pack wolf. She was your mother, Lydia. She had twins, Zane and you. The council let me keep you because they thought the curse had neutralized your power. But they tried to kill Zane, so your mother sent him away to the border packs, thinking distance would protect him. Maddie's mind reeled. Zane wasn't her mate. He was her brother. The golden mark on her neck burned differently now. Not with romantic bond, but with recognition. Family, blood. The connection that had felt so right, so inevitable, was because they were twins separated at birth. Everything I felt, she whispered, was real, Henry insisted, but not romantic. Alpha primes can sense their blood relatives. You recognized your twin. The cell door exploded inward. Elena stood in the wreckage, power blazing around her like a storm. Enough lies, Henry! Elena's ancient power shattered the silver chains like they were paper. Maddie stumbled forward, freed but reeling from Henry's revelation. Is it true? Maddie demanded. Is Zane my brother? No. Elena's voice cut through the chaos with absolute certainty. Henry is lying. Again. It's what he does best. Henry's face crumbled. I'm trying to save her. If she completes the mate bond with Zane, if she what, Henry? Finds happiness, claims her power, destroys the corrupt system you've spent decades profiting from? Elena moved toward him like a predator. Zane is not her brother. He's not even related to Caleb. That was a lie Caleb's father spread to justify sending Zane away. Easier to relocate a bastard son than to admit you're torturing a child for showing mercy. The truth hit like an avalanche. Caleb had lied at the border. Henry was lying now. Everyone wanted to control her, to make her doubt the one genuine connection she'd found. Where is Zane? Maddie's voice emerged layered with alpha command that made even Elena pause. Alive? Barely. My healers removed the silver, but he needs you. The mate bond isn't complete, and without it, his wolf is dying. Elena extended her hand. But we need to move. Caleb's ceremony starts in minutes, and if he forces you into a public acceptance before witnesses... It becomes binding, Maddie finished. She knew pack law, understood the old magic that enforced vows made under witness. He trapped me forever. Alarms blared. Guards flooded the corridor, but Maddie's power exploded outward instinctively, sending them crashing into walls. She was done being caged. This way! Elena led them through hidden passages that reeked of age and secrets. Your mother and I planned escape routes 23 years ago. She knew the pack would eventually come for her bloodline. They emerged in the ceremonial hall just as Caleb stood before the assembled packs, looking every inch the perfect alpha in his designer suit. We gather to witness the true mating of... His words died when he saw Maddie, free and furious, striding down the center aisle with golden light crackling around her body. No, she said simply. Maddie, be reasonable, Caleb started. I am being reasonable. She stopped at the base of the dais. Every eye in the stadium fixed on her. You want to talk about consequences? About innocent wolves suffering? Let's talk about the real cost of Silvercrest's prosperity. She raised her hand, and her Alpha Prime power surged. Not to attack, but to reveal. Golden light swept through the hall, and suddenly everyone could see what she saw. The threads of stolen power that connected Silvercrest to its wealth. Energy drained from rogue territories, from smaller packs, from the land itself. The pack's prosperity wasn't earned. It was theft. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Council members exchanged horrified glances. This is what you built, Maddie said to Caleb. This is what you wanted me to restore. A system that feeds on the weak and calls it civilization. You don't understand economics. Caleb tried, but his voice lacked conviction. I understand that you had a choice. We all do. Maddie's power swelled, and she felt the connection between her and every wolf present. I could strip every alpha in this room of their power, make you all human, force equality through domination. The hall went deathly silent. But that would make me just like you. She lowered her hand. So instead, I'm breaking the chains entirely. No more mandatory pack bonds. No more hierarchy enforced by magic. No more stolen power masquerading as strength. You'll destroy everything. Caleb's composure finally cracked. No, I'll free everyone. Maddie closed her eyes and reached deep into her bloodline's ancient magic. And then, I'm going to save the man I love. Golden light exploded outward, rewriting centuries of pack law in a single devastating moment. Bonds shattered, hierarchies dissolved, and for the first time in generations, every wolf in the stadium felt what it meant to be truly free. Caleb fell to his knees, his alpha power gone, his empire crumbling. Maddie didn't look back. Maddie ran through the forest, Elena guiding her through shortcuts only the oldest wolves remembered. Her power had shattered the pack system, but she felt hollow, incomplete. The golden mark on her neck pulsed weakly, calling her home to a man who might already be gone. The rogue barons came into view, and her heart lurched. Wolves lined the paths holding torches, their faces solemn. A funeral procession. "No," she whispered, pushing herself faster. "No, no, no!" She burst into Zane's cabin to find him on the bed, deathly pale, his chest barely rising. Healers surrounded him, but their expressions told her everything. They were keeping vigil, not healing. "Maddie?" His voice was a rasp, his red eyes dim. "You came." "Of course I came, you idiot." She shoved the healers aside, climbing onto the bed beside him. Her hands found his face, and she felt how cold his skin had become. "Elena said you need me, that the bond isn't complete." "Won't trap you?" His words came in painful gasps. "Learned my lesson. Can't use people, even to save myself." Tears streamed down Maddie's face. "You're not using me, you stubborn ass. I choose this. I choose you." She pressed her forehead to his. "You've loved me since we were kids, watched over me, waited for me. That's not manipulation. That's devotion. But revenge was the excuse you used to justify protecting me." She kissed him softly. "I saw your memories, Zane. Every moment you could have hurt me, used me, broken me, and you chose my freedom instead. Even when it cost you everything." His hand came up weakly to cup her face. "Broke the pack system. Felt it shatter. You magnificent, terrifying woman." "That's right. I freed everyone, including us." Maddie bit her own wrist, blood welling dark and potent. "Now drink, Alpha, and then mark me properly. No interruptions, no witnesses, just us." Zane's eyes widened. "You sure?" "I've never been more sure of anything." He drank, and color flooded back into his face instantly. The silver poison purged from his system, replaced by her Alpha Prime blood, the most powerful healing agent in existence. His wolf surged back to life, howling with joy and recognition. Zane pulled her down, his fangs extending, and this time, when he marked her, it was gentle, reverent. A question and an answer. A promise and a plea. The golden light exploded again, but softer now, wrapping around them like a cocoon. The mate bond snapped into place completely, and Maddie felt everything. His love, his fear, his hope, his absolute devotion. And he felt hers, her strength, her choice, her unwavering certainty that this was right. When they finally broke apart, both were crying and laughing. "What happens now?" Zane asked, running his fingers through her hair. "Now, we build something new." Maddie gestured to the window, where freed wolves from every pack were gathering, drawn by the possibility of a life without forced hierarchy. A place where no one is thrown away, where power comes from choice, not birthright. A queendom? A community. She kissed him again. Led by two people who know what it's like to be rejected, broken, and rebuilt. Elena appeared in the doorway, smiling. "The council is in chaos. Caleb's been arrested for kidnapping and conspiracy. Henry confessed to everything in exchange for exile instead of execution. And the other packs are requesting an audience with the Alpha Prime who freed the wolves." Maddie looked at Zane, who grinned. "What do you say, my queen, ready to change the world?" "With you?" She intertwined their fingers, feeling the golden marks pulse and sync. "Always." Outside, wolves howled, not in submission, but in celebration. The old world had ended. A new one was beginning. And at its heart stood two souls who had been thrown away by a broken system, only to find each other and build something better from the ashes. Maddie had been rejected, cursed, and caged, but she'd risen as something no one expected, not a victim. Not a weapon, but a revolutionary. And with Zane beside her, her mate, her equal, her choice, she was finally completely free. Maddie went from rejected and dying to literally reshaping the entire werewolf world. If her story taught us anything, it's that sometimes being thrown away is the universe giving you permission to build something better. If this journey moved you, if you've ever had to choose yourself when no one else would, I'd love for you to subscribe and be part of this community where we celebrate stories of strength, love, and transformation. And click the video on your screen right now because the next story is about a wolf who was sold to her enemy and discovered she's the only one who can end a war. You won't want to miss it.